bad. They were really easy. And you should have been able to do a great job on this quiz. And instead, you wound up doing a really bad job on this quiz. Elizabeth, no noise. You really need to put all your focus this way. And right now, the focus is in every direction except where it should be. Jimmy, look forward.
Can't see. I can't see.
Do your best. Sometimes there's tall kids in front of you. Look around, bob and weave. Now, the first line is y equals 2x minus 3. I know that this is not the same graph as on your graph paper, but we're going to use this one instead. Okay. Y equals 2x minus 3. Now listen, there are two things that matter when it comes to graphing. The first thing that matters is the slope. The second thing that matters is the y-intercept. And you need to be able to look at a line and instantly, and I mean instantly, don't look away, realize what the slope and the y-intercept are. Now, we've been preaching to you guys for a couple of days now about the importance of this equation, y equals mx plus b. That is the general equation of a line. That is the template, the pattern, if you will. What does m always stand for? Slope. What does b always stand for? What does b always stand for? Well, now I know why most of you bombed that part of the quiz. I've only said it, listen, you know, I'm upset because you should know better. If I have said this a minimum of 25 times in the last two classes, what does b stand for? The y-intercept. What does intercept mean? It's where it crosses the y-axis. It's where it touches the y-axis. You need to be able to look at an equation like y equals 2x minus 3 and instantly, and I mean instantly, be able to say what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. And all you do is look whatever's in front of the x is the slope. By the way, why do we use an m for slope? It's how you move. Good. Why do I use a b for y-intercept? It's where you begin. Very good. Now, in this equation, y equals 2x minus 3, what is the slope? Come on, look, what is it? Instant. 2. Or 2 over 1. Because the number 2 is really 2 over 1. We just don't bother writing the over 1. What is the y-intercept? Instant. Negative 3. Where do I begin? Negative 3. So I go on the y-axis, and I go to negative 3. Now, you know, I don't bother writing these on here, but you should be able to know where they are. And if you need to, and you really like them, then you can write them on your graphs before you do your quiz. So here's negative 3. So I begin at negative 3. Now, the slope is how you move. How do I move? Come on, look. What'd you say the slope was? Yeah, it is, but what? Use the numbers. What is the slope there? Up what?
2.
2 over?
1.
Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So I go from here, my beginning point, my y-intercept, not the x-intercept, the y-intercept, up 2 over 1, 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 fill in the backside, there we go. Done. Yes?
I went the opposite way. I went that way.
Well, and that's going to get it wrong every
Because
time.
I thought that the negatives go down and that way, and the positives go that way.
Nope. And here's the thing. Honestly, Elizabeth, I think the last couple of days you've been off your game in here. And I think it showed. And I think that's symptomatic of what a lot of kids in this class did. For whatever reason, I don't think you got out of class the last couple of days what you should have. And listen, I know when I'm not teaching my best. And I would have said to you a week or two ago, we weren't getting through as many problems as the class after this. And maybe that's on me. But the last couple of days, we've been getting through stuff really well. So now I feel like it's not on me. And I think you guys should be, I think you should have done way better on this quiz. The second line is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. Now, here's the thing. The process never changes. It's all about y equals mx plus b. What does m stand for? Slope. And it's how you move. What does b stand for? Y-intercept. And it's where you begin. So let's look at this new equation in blue. What is the slope? Instant. What's the answer?
-2.
-2/3. How the heck hard is that? Just look at whatever's in front of the x. BAM! There it is. Done. You cannot tell me that you're not smart enough to know how to do that. If you didn't learn that, it's because you didn't do your job as a student in here every day. What are you supposed to learn today in class? Says it in the box on the paper. What are you supposed to learn?
Using algebraic
Manipulations
to get a line.
to get it into the equation of a line format. That's your job. The last couple of days, it's been learn how to use y equals mx plus b. That's your responsibility when you walk in the room. If you came in here and you walked out and you said, ah, ha, ha, I did other things, you didn't do your job. What's the y-intercept here? Take a look. 1. Where do I begin? 1.
One.
How do I move? Come on, what's the slope? How do I move?
-2.
Down, negative means down, down 2/3. 1.
Oh, sorry.
Down 2/3. Down 2/3. Backside. Now I connect the dots. And there's my line. Now, you cannot tell me that's difficult. You just can't. The one thing that you could do, I think, that will help you tomorrow, when you get the next quiz in the series that looks just like this, just take a second to write m equals and b equals underneath each line, so that you remind yourself of what the slope and the y-intercept are. Maybe I should have written m equals and b equals just to help you. Just so you know how I grade it, I look at the equation, I give you 25 points if you got the slope right, I give you 25 if you got the y-intercept right. I give you 25 if you get the slope of the second one right, I give you 25 if you get the slope of the second one right. 25 times 4 is 100, that's how you get your 100 points. Okay? Any questions? Now, why do I set up a YouTube channel?
So if we have trouble.
So if you have trouble, you can go back. Perfectly said, Marco. If you struggled on this quiz, and by the time you leave here, if you are not 100% on what it is that's going on in this class today, I strongly suggest you go home and you watch this video. Go through it step by step and learn, hey, this isn't what I'm doing right. I need to straighten this out. Guys, look, when we did equations, equations are so dependent upon your number skills that if you struggle with things like your times tables and positives and negatives, when you do equations, you can get equations wrong, even though you're trying to do them the right way, because of stuff from the past. This is not like that. Graphing lines is brand new stuff. So even if you struggle with those numbers, you should be able to walk in here and bang hundreds on anything that has to do with graphing a line, because you don't need all of this prior knowledge. All you need to be able to do is say, hey, that's what M is, that's what B is. That's what M is, that's what B is. B means where I begin on the y-axis. M means how I move. Up, down, left, or, well, in this case, only right. Up or down, and then to the right. We always move left to right with slope. Okay, now let's go through the do it, which is a lot like yesterday's do it. And this is where, you know, look, if you would have done yesterday's do it to the best of your ability, I think that it would have helped on today's quiz. Alan, I know you're picking your head up and not putting it down, right? Mm-hmm. Now, first question on today's do it. Write the equation of a line whose slope is -1/2 and whose y-intercept is 2. As soon as I read this phrase, write the equation of a line. You know, I have a type of dog called a Central Asian Shepherd, and my dogs are very special because they have a line in them called the Turkmen Alibi line. And the Turkmen Alibi line is such an important dog that it's a national treasure in Turkestan where the dogs are. They're not allowed to be exported. The fact that I have a dog with these pedigrees means something. What it means is that this is one tough dog. So if you see a pedigree in a dog and it says Turkmen Alibi, you say to yourself, Tough dog, do not mess. Now, if you see the phrase writing equation of a line, you automatically think y equals mx plus b. That has to be the first thing that pops into your head. Growing up, if I called my mom she or her, I got hit. Always, right in the back of the head, or right upside the head. My dad smacked me every single time if I called my mom she or her. He'd go, that is your mother, she gave birth to you, you will address her as mom. And BAM! I got hit every single time. Until I realized I always said mom. I never said she and I never said her because I got hit. I could be 25 years old, my dad would have hit me. Now, I see equation of a line, I write y equals mx plus b. Now I'll start to think. But it's automatic, y equals mx plus b. Write the equation of, oh, by the way, we do this all the time. Don't tell me you're not capable of it. Watch, I'm going to say a word, you say the first thing that pops into your head. Please.
Thank you.
It's automatic. Equation of a line, y equals mx plus b. What's the slope in this problem? Read it. What does it say? Everybody. Negative half. So y equals, instead of the m, what do I put?
Negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2 x, and then instead of b, I put the y-intercept. What is that? 2. Plus 2. Done. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Yes?
Why is that like a y minus just x?
Oh, it's a hyphen.
Oh.
Okay?
Put it negative.
Yeah, no, it's not negative, it's a hyphen. Okay, next, find the slope of the line connecting negative 2, 3, and 1, 7. This, I think, is a more challenging question. Okay? One way to do the slope of the line connecting negative 2, 3, and 1, 7 is to actually graph them on your paper. So you could graph the point negative 2, 3, you could graph the point 3, 7. Let me show you how to do that real quick. It's not the preferred way, but I want to show it to you because it is an easy way. Negative 2, 3, and 1, 7. So I go over to my graph here and I go negative 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to count how do I get from here to there. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 3. So it has to be 4 over 3. Now, that way always works. And you know what? If you have a piece of graph paper in front of you, that might be the way I always do it. Graph them and count them. Because it's so easy. But a lot of times when they ask you to do these questions, they don't give you any graph paper. So if they're not going to give you any graph paper, you have to come up with another way to do it. And that's when we come up with the formula. And the formula we said for slope is this, and you need to memorize this. The y from the second point minus the y from the first point over the x from the second minus the x from the first. And we always set it up like that. That's not a division sign. That's a fraction symbol, just like a division sign has, but then 2 minus signs, top and bottom. One on the bottom, 2 more at the top. Now, I can label them point 1, point 2. Doesn't matter which one's which. What's the y from the second point? Everybody? Look! What is it? The y from the second point. 7. Remember, any point is xy. So it's 7 minus the y from the first point, which is what? 3. Now, what's the x from the second point? 1. What's the y from the second point? Negative 2. Circle agregare. 7 minus 3 is 4. 1 plus 2 is 3. 4 over 3. Okay. Now, I'm going to pause 20 seconds just in case you didn't get a chance to graph this line as part of your do it. But this is like a quiz question. I want you to graph it now. Write m equals, write b equals, and draw the graph. Go ahead. 20 seconds. Ten more seconds. Okay, what's the slope, everybody? Guys, what's the slope? Negative 3 over 1. Good. What's the y-intercept? 5. Where do I begin? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, how do I move
Down.
down 3 over 1? 1, 2, 3 over 1. 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 And I get y equals negative 3x plus 5. You cannot tell me that's hard. In fact, if a mean, horrible, rotten, awful human being of a terrorist like Osama bin Laden walked in this room right now and they put a bomb to you and they said, if you can get this question right, you get to live. You should be like, oh yeah, I got this right, This is so easy. He gets so mad because this is like a piece of cake. It's the easiest thing you could possibly ask for. Now, if he turns around and says, you get to live if you can say how you understand women, you're dead. If he turns around and says, you get to live if you can understand men, you're dead. But if he says, graph y equals negative 3x plus 5, go, booyah, bingo, I got it. Easy. Piece of cake. Now, you ever hear of Emerald years ago?
Yeah.
All right, Emerald was this guy has a TV show. In fact, I think he has a TV show even now. And he would turn around. I used to have this kid who was a manager on my wrestling team. He went to school here. He struggled, man. He had this thing called Fragile X syndrome. His name was Peter Lowry, and I love Peter. Peter is a fantastic kid. Fragile X syndrome is a form of mental retardation. And he loved the show Emerald, and he actually went to be in the TV audience of Emerald a couple of times. And Emerald would always turn around and he would cook something. He liked to add spice to what he was cooking. And he'd always go, BAM! Kick it up a notch.
That's where you got it from.
BAM! Kick it up a notch. So we're about to go, BAM! Kick it up a notch with the math here. And Peter was my wrestling manager. He'd look at the kids at practice and go, he didn't have a whistle, but he'd go, boop! BAM! Kick it up a notch. Telling the kids to work a little bit harder. We're about to kick it up a little notch here. Look, all of this stuff about y equals mx plus b is really, really, really important, okay? Everything, you have to understand there's a place for everything in its place. Like my grandfather used to tell me about tools and cleaning up the garage and so on and so forth. Does anybody in this room have a name that's a last name and a first name? If you put the two parts together?
Wait,
Yeah, you, Chelsea Craig, perfect. Now, when you fill out a Scantron, it's really important that you do it the right way.
yeah.
Because, look, like my name is Robert Lindquist. If I happen to put them in the wrong place, is it pretty obvious that Lindquist is the last name? Right? Like, you see people with the first name Robert all the time. How many people do you ever see with the first name Lindquist? Never happens. So you could go, oh, okay, that must be a mistake, and you could straighten it out. But, Chelsea Craig, Craig Chelsea, right? Because Craig would be a boy's first name.
My cousin here is Craig.
Yeah.
Rosario.
Craig what?
Rosario.
There you go. Okay. But that you could tell because Rosario is not really very much of a first name.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's
Right.
Craig.
Now, what about? Let me try to think of another one. Every year, I get a couple of kids in my class who have it where the first name is the same as the last name. What about a name like James Patrick? Right? It could be Patrick James. So you never know. So it's really important when you fill out those Scantrons that you put it in the right place. What about
You have one here right now.
who? What?
Fernando.
What?
Fernando Rodriguez.
Rodriguez isn't really a first name. I've never heard of a first name Rodriguez.
What? All right.
Now, what about? Have you ever noticed how the Europeans write dates?
No.
They do it the exact opposite of us. Like today is November 18th, so we would go 11-18-14. They would go 18-11-14. Now, in the case that they write 18 first, you would know there's a problem because there's not 18 months. But what if it was like 9/11/14? To us, 9/11, September 11th, horrible day. To them, it's November 9th. Because they do it in the opposite order. So order can be really, really important. And it's the same exact thing here. Look at what I write on the first question. It says y plus 2x equals 5. What's wrong with that? Before you answer, the general equation of a line is this. Everything is all about this. So what's wrong with that? Elizabeth?
The plus equals
Yeah, isn't the 2x in the wrong place?
7. Yeah.
Right, can you see that? So a lot of people would look at this and they go, oh man, I got this. The y-intercept is 5. I know it is, because it's at the end, it's the number all by itself, and you would be correct. And then they'd say the slope is positive 2, and you would be wrong. Because when we get the general equation of a line, it's always supposed to say y equals. What does this say? Y plus 2x equals. So now I need to do a little bit of work. And all I'm going to do is this. That says positive 2x, so I'm going to do the opposite. It's like solving equations. Die, and I get y equals negative 2x plus 5. Now, does it look like the general equation of a line? Yes or no? Yes. Does it say y equals? Sure, look, general equation, y equals. What does this say? Y equals. So I know I'm doing it right. Now, what is the slope? Hey, everybody in the game, what's the slope? Negative 2 over 1. What's the y-intercept? 5. Where do I begin? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do I move? Down 2 over 1. 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 Backside. I'm slightly off there, but we'll go with that. Take a look at the next one. Y minus x equals negative 3. What's wrong with that? Well, then you should, because we just did an example exactly like it. What is wrong with it, Chelsea? It has minus x, right? What is it supposed to say every single time? Y equals. Does it say y equals? Then you have a responsibility to put it in the proper format, like making sure that the last name, first name on a Scantron, you have to put this in the right order. So you do that now and graph it. Go ahead. Put it in the right order, graph it. You got 30 more seconds. Hey. Boys? Okay. So the thing that's wrong here is it says y minus x equals. So I need to get rid of that minus x, so I add x. And I get y equals, be careful to put the x part in front, I should say. Positive x minus 3. What is the slope? Go ahead. 1. It's the number in front of the x. What's the y-intercept? Come on, Montenegro, you got to tell me the y-intercept here. I know you know the y-intercept. What do we get? Come on, Montenegro. Talk to me. Ready, guys? Michael. Come on, Michael, give me a number. Tell me a number. Yeah, what is it? Oh, close. Negative 3. Okay? It's literally that easy. Hold on. Now, where do I begin? Negative 3. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Notice I make my lines nice and long. Mr. Livacora, Jason, on your quiz, you made your line short. Make it nice and long. Okay? Okay, you guys try number 3 here while I answer Elizabeth's question, and I'll go over that in just a second.
10 seconds.
Guys.
When you're doing that, is it okay to put plus sign instead of putting the positive?
Were you mean the positive in front of the x?
No, I put it. Thank you. Finally.
You can put plus sign as long as it's positive. Hasta la vista, vaya con Dios, toodaloo, ta-ta, arrivederci, smile a lot, ciao, arrivederci, adios amigos y amigas, cheerio, ta-ta, toodaloo.
Rachel Warble to the guidance office, please.
Oh, I was checking what I was missing.
No, I was just wondering because I put y equals x plus negative 3.
No, just write -3.
Because that just.
Two signs in a row is gonna
I
confuse
got a
everything.
question. You don't change this for the quarters, right?
Yeah, that's the blue line. The blue line is the start of the new quarter.
Then I'm missing one. Oh, that's great.
All right, get it made up.
Becky Marrero to guidance. Becky Marrero.